Yeah, that is
All right.
fantastic.
You ready? Fantastic.
Fantastic.
The mic settings are
Fanart
fantastic.
Friday.
Isn't this fun? This is like back when we used to record with a bunch of people and we had
no
to
script.
We had no script and we just sort of had to like figure out some way to keep everyone focused.
It's like everyone, it was also a funny contest.
I can see his
penis.
Everyone was trying to be the funniest in the first 30 seconds
Well,
so they could be in the bit.
All right, so welcome back, guys. You might have been able to piece together from that that it's Fan Art Friday again.
You know, if you didn't get it from that intro and the title and
Just
the
click
thumbnail,
off the video.
I mean, you've had a lot of hints at this point, so...
So we're Fan Art Friday, the end of October here, and the end of Apoctober, our monthly drawing challenge, or our daily drawing challenge of the month. And in the video today, we'd like to showcase mostly some of your work from Apoctober, the works that you did based off of the prompt list that I made. Let's dive into the ones that we have here. We're gonna start with this user, Graphics. And they have, this looks like they might have combined a couple different prompt lists because they have a few different prompts at the bottom here.
Anomaly and Axolotl.
Axolotl, Apoctober, and Anomaly.
Which one was yours?
None of those are my prompts, but it does say Apoctober on it. And this person was following along with other prompts.
I did see another person making a separate prompt list. Okay, well, it is spooky and it was made in the month of October.
And I think part of the reason I chose this is because I think they actually tied in some Pokemon design here. I think the Axolotl tie-in might be Perizodal on this design here. The head that the character is holding reminds me of Perizodal with the inverted teeth and the tongue hanging out. That's my guess.
I do not see that.
You don't see that?
I mean,
I don't see an Axolotl anywhere else in here. That's the only reason I said that.
I was seeing the limbs kind of being like a reference to the shape of the whiskers as they spread out.
Like the gills?
Yeah.
Okay, I could see that too. Well, either way, this is a really cool design. When I first saw it, I thought it was for space because it's got this sort of like portal thing going on. Actually, also another Pokemon thing reminds me a lot of Hoopa. Hoopa Unbound has that kind of genie aesthetic and everything. I really like this. This person, I think, did a prompt for every day of the month. So congratulations, because that is a very hard thing to do. I couldn't even do it. But this is just the one that I picked. They did a lot of them, but I liked this one. This one stood out to me a lot.
I like that they kept it monochromatic, so they could just focus on designing a character without getting really stuck in choosing a palette or doing a specific style of rendering, because as someone who's also done a daily prompt challenge and done a piece every month before, it is a lot of work.
So this is a fantastic job. Thank you, Graphics. Very cool design. I like it a lot. And we're gonna move on now to day 6 by Enroko Draws on Instagram. This was their prompt or their illustration for the prompt Coven on day 6. And when they shared it in the Discord, the caption was something like "Gaslight Girl Boss." I gotta find it, but it made me laugh when I looked at it.
That's a meme.
Yeah, I had a feeling there was something I was missing out on, but it made me laugh when I saw it.
Gatekeep Girl Boss.
Okay, yeah, Gaslight, Gatekeep, Girl Boss. I would like to think that those are the names of the 3 witches here.
That does kind of fit. I feel like...
That's Gatekeep's in the middle there. She's pissed off because this one drew dragons wrong.
Girl Boss is definitely...
This is Girl Boss right here.
Okay.
And then this is Gaslight.
No,
she's literally being lit by the gas.
It's Gaslight, Gatekeep, Girl Boss.
So you mean in that order?
Yeah, I think that Girl Boss is on the right. Look how strong she is.
No, she's Gaslight. She's literally being lit by the gas. She's gaslighting. Right now she's telling her that her dragons don't exist. And this one's telling her that her dragons aren't real dragons. Anyway,
it's actually a wyvern.
She's gatekeeping. No, this is a fantastic illustration. This was another artist who did, I think, a prompt for every day of the month, and they also did a short animation too that you can check out in the Discord. But I thought this one was my favorite because I love the interaction of the 3 characters, whether or not their names are actually Gaslight, Gatekeeping, Girl Boss.
I'm really overthinking it now. Now I'm looking at Girl Boss, the witch on the left, and I'm thinking, okay, so obviously she's trying to like rope these other 2 girls into her MLM or something. It's like, these potions will help you lose weight.
So she's a Girl Boss and she's also part of a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, well that's
Girl Boss, witch,
well,
MLM.
That's the thing with the Hun bots.
Yeah.
They call themselves Girl Bosses. So I feel like there's some kind of like slimming potion in that cauldron. and it has like antioxidant properties. And she's like, yeah, this will give you witchy powers.
I do. I just love the narrative. Whatever the narrative may be, I do really love
and
the interaction.
Gatekeep is like, actually, it's not technically a potion.
yeah, there you go. I really feel like that's coming through to me pretty clearly there. But yeah, these are great. I mean, aside from our implied story on here, or inferred story
There's
on here.
no other way to interpret it.
I do really like these designs.
They're
and it's
fun.
a great interaction. I mean, this is...
Each character has really great, unique characterization. And I like that it's 3 witches, but only one of them is like traditional witch.
All right, very cool. Thank you very much, and Rocco Draws. I love this one. All right, so this one came to us from Dan Strachan Art. I think that's how you pronounce that. Dan Strachan Art. And this was their prompt for day 7, which was Ghost. And this was cool. Part of the reason I wanted to pick one of the prompts for day 7, or one of the illustrations for day 7, was because I did a Pokemon for this. So I kind of forgot that Ghost was on the prompt list because I was just thinking of it as a Pokemon type. But of course, Ghost was a prompt that you could interpret in any different way. And so this illustration got kind of a cool narrative here where you have...
A cool Whimsical narrative.
It is. Well, it definitely reminds me a little bit of League of Legends. You have sort of an Annie thing where it's a little girl. She's got her stuffed deer character, actually.
It definitely has the vibe of like a fairy tale character, and something's gone wrong.
Yeah, it's a dark fairy tale, but it's got some really cool themes to it here. And I like also, I think another thing that caught my eye about this is there's a good shape composition here, the shape
this
language. This
is really appealing to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely up my alley, but I mean, other than the subject, I mean, the way you draw in the eye here with, you know, the border and everything.
And framing it and this
very
art
central.
deco border.
Yep, very much on theme with the style
Jack
that I have with my Apoctober stuff. They have a cool, like, you know, 1920 Art Deco font going on there. And, you know, it definitely has the same kind of color palette, sort of a sepia kind of tone. But they did a good job, too, with bringing in some saturated colors to sort of bring your focus around. Very subtle, you know, just enough to give a little bit of a highlight on the edge of the skull up here. And again, you know, it's one of those pieces that's just really, you could call it just a character design, but it does have a narrative just in the character design. Implied.
Well, it's wispy, but it's also, as far as forms built from smoke, it's really big. It's massive and dense, and it has a lot of presence. Yeah. It makes me feel like it's not just the suggestion of something, but there's a very real power in this energy. Also, just using a deer skull is smart. You know, you could choose any kind of skull, and skulls always kind of look pretty cool, but there's something so naturally witchy and iconic about using an animal with these giant weapons literally coming out of its head.
I would say, though, that the only thing, if I could give a critique to this, is that they clearly didn't
use more reference.
Yeah, they didn't really use a reference for that deer skull. You know, we can tell it's a deer skull because it has antlers. But it could use a little bit more reference in there. That deer skull is a little strange.
You could definitely, and I mean, I know they're herbivores, but they do look very cool just when you have the skulls. I mean, the way that their teeth that are designed for grinding jut out of the skull is very alien looking.
Yeah, well, because the front of their jaw doesn't have any teeth in it at all.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, it almost looks like it has a beak, a deer skull, and then the teeth are behind this sort of front part. But yeah, it is very cool. The other thing I really like about it is because you gave the human character, you have that hair covering the face, the eye on the spirit character above it seems to imply that she's actually controlling this, because now she doesn't have eyes, her eyes are up here.
Or it's controlling her.
So very cool. This is another artist who I believe did a prompt for every day of the month, so really great work. They have a bunch of other really cool illustrations. This is just the one that I picked, but they have a bunch of them, so be sure to go check that out. Thank you, Dan. I'm sorry if I've mispronounced the full name there on your username.
I'm not sorry, Dan.
Well, you didn't pronounce it.
Yeah.
You're safe.
It's all Jack's fault.
So this artist didn't actually submit to our Discord, but I've been following along with them because they, again, were doing an illustration once a day for the entire month. And they were doing something that I found very admirable, which was they were actually doing architectural design for every prompt on the list. And they were doing actually a sci-fi, kind of post-apocalyptic sci-fi, which is a cool way to interpret the entire genre of the month, which is Apoctober. You know, it comes from apocalypse. And they have this really cool post-apocalyptic setting that they've been creating with different landscapes and buildings based off of each prompt. So this one is Decapod. Of course, I picked Decapod because I love the little crab construct. And these are just all so incredible for like every reason. I think the first thing being that doing architecture and making it interesting can be really tough.
I feel kind of fascinated that this is like whimsical cyberpunk.
Yeah.
I don't think I see an image very often where I want to use those two descriptors together. But
Well,
it's,
like Ghibli, like Howl's Moving Castle.
yeah, but there's also so much like steam and so many futuristic parts. There's glowing lights. At the same time, there's these like German-esque
Cute
countryside
little
cottages with the
villas.
clock towers and the wind flutes.
Yeah.
The weather vanes, I mean.
It's incredible, and you know that they were able to capture so many different things. So you get the crab going here, right? You can clearly see the claws, but you can also get this sense that this is a moving village that maybe they're miners, right? Both this claws has drill. This one has like these little like hoe kind of scraper tools on the front here. You really get the idea, and then all the way up in the front here, you have more things for collecting. I don't know, like ore. There's another drill, a little hand thing. You can imagine this thing moving along, some post-apocalyptic, big desert or something, crags, and just scraping along on the earth below it and pulling up little bits of ore and gems and stuff. And then it's got, the crab eyes, the stalk eyes, are two big cannons. So whatever this setting is, they have to be prepared to fight off something. You can say that this whole thing is enormous, right? It's got a couple of houses on the back of it. So it's got these cannons that are fighting something gargantuan. And that, implies a lot more story too. Maybe it's fighting other robot crab villages. But I absolutely love these, and all of you should check this artist out. Her name is Hannah Geisen9. We'll put that up. That's the username. Be sure to check out all of these illustrations because they are really fantastic.
Those buildings, they have such a charming, like, whimsical tilt. Like, they're kind of topsy-turvy and could be going in any direction, but I'm just looking at the size of this weaponry against the tilt of these buildings, and they must have fantastic foundations to stay upright.
Yeah, I mean, that's what adds the whimsicalness to it, right? Because it's like, it's sci-fi in so much as it's a machine, but it's fantasy in so much as this could never really exist. Nothing about this is structurally sound, but yet it's believable. It's got that sort of great hybridization of being like, okay, if I saw this in a movie, I wouldn't doubt that those houses were staying up. I can imagine them kind of rocking back and forth and swaying. Maybe pieces are falling off, but they'd hold. But then, of course, if you tried to create something like this in real life, it wouldn't be able to look like this and be functional. But that's where that awesome element of fantasy comes in, and it's great,
Even the scarier parts of the design, though, if the coloring and the handling of these saturated hues were a little bit different, it would look really, really scary. But all over the metal shell of our crab village, it's still so pastel and so colorful. It's almost like it's been gone over by a child with chalk.
Yeah, it is a little chalky, yeah. But it's like, but you can also interpret it as like rust and wear and oxidization.
Yeah, definitely. But it really makes it feel like this isn't just a vehicle, it's not just a weapon, it's a home to people.
Yeah. It's fantastic. I mean, this is really clever. I think another smart thing that they did was they put it on this grid, which helps them sort of get a consistent perspective, but it also just looks nice. It's an easy way to sort of, keep focus on the actual design, but still kind of convey that sort of architectural intent that was behind the concept from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So really great job. I know you didn't submit this, but I just wanted to share it because I feel like this was an awesome alternative direction to take Apoctober. There's a lot of similar themes being explored. Even by me, I didn't really deviate from my original idea, but this is a really cool different direction to take it. So
go subscribe to Hannah Geisen9, please.
Yeah, go follow them on
Instagram.
We
just recorded this.
So awesome. Okay, so this one came to us from a user named Skullbird, and at first you might think that this has nothing to do with Apoctober, but this was actually two of the prompts from the list. It was Raven and Smog, and I picked this one kind of for the same reason that I picked the last one, where it's got this entirely different direction that it's taking Apoctober. And I love, I picked Apoctober because I love the cosmic horror theme. I love the spooky stuff. It's Halloween time. I want it to be kind of creepy. I want it to be scary. I have a theme in mind. But I really like with these prompt lists, you can look at someone's art and they take it in a completely different direction. This was for Raven and Smog. I did probably two of the weirdest, creepiest designs for the whole month. But this artist just decided to do like a little smoky crow that's got these beautiful sunset colors in it, and I really love that.
So it is beautiful sunset colors, but it reminds me of the kind of super saturated, intense, beautiful sunset you get because of pollution.
Yeah,
It's
right?
like
For smog.
sickly, it's like the sky is on fire and it's so beautiful, but it's not good.
It's gorgeous. But is it worth the asthma?
No.
Like this seems like the kind of creature, I have no reference for its scale. It could be
That's
little
true.
and dancing
That's
on my
true.
hand, or it could be like towering over a city and just jamming out and crushing people.
That's
And
kind of scary to
I
think about it
like
that
the
way.
ambiguity. I mean, there's no like highlight in its eye even.
Yeah.
There's no empathy point. It's just this jamming duck.
Well, it is smiling.
It's
I feel like that's an empathy point.
I mean, I like
Unless
it,
it's a
but
smile of
I don't trust
sinister
it.
deceit.
I think it just might be a smile of ignorance.
I think this is great. I love to see that people have, completely different perspectives for these prompts than I do.
Yeah, it's very cute.
Yeah, I love it. So great work. And now going back to the more on-theme, creepy, little more cosmic horror fantasy, sci-fi element of October. This one came to us from the user Haze Roth. Very appropriate username for this piece, I think. And this was their illustration for the prompt Scythe. As you can see, there's a big glowing red scythe in this illustration. And this has a couple of really great things going for it. One, I really like the use of geometry here with the border, but they didn't just stop there. They could have just left that as the only sort of background element for the piece to sort of bring the composition together. But there actually is an environment within this sort of portrait frame here. And it's a pretty well done environment.
And
You
the
could
shapes are complementary to the shapes in the design.
Yep, these craggy mountain shapes, and you can tell it wasn't like a huge deal painting these. It was pretty simple, but it's effective. And you're right. It does sort of drive home that sense of the sharpness, the danger in here.
I would also say with any other design, I would say the values in the background are too close to the values in the character in the foreground. But with this hazy, smoky wraith, who is jagged and sharp, but still seems to be fading in and out and maybe difficult to detect until it's too late, it works.
Yeah.
That it's almost only in silhouette. It has very few values actually in the form of this character. And it's just hovering ominously amongst these crags and against these clouds, which the clouds might be a picture actually.
Could be a little photo bashing there.
Yeah, but it's effective.
Yeah, it works well. Really great work.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Good job.
This was another one that I picked mostly because I loved what a different direction this took it from most of the other October prompts. So this one came to us from C-Pixel, a very appropriately cute name.
Yeah, C-Pixel, very well done. Take that out, please.
That's staying in.
Please take
It's
that out.
staying in. It actually took me, I'm literally staring at the word well, and it took me a second to realize
You can take
that
that
was
out.
fun. It's staying in. No, but this is so cute. This person did a couple of different prompts, and they all were sort of this very saturated, I guess not even saturated. It's very bright, very high contrast, and very cute and simple. And again, I love that someone had the initiative to take these prompts in a completely different direction from most of the other things that we're seeing. I'm comparing this to my illustration for Well, which actually conceptually is pretty similar, sort of this amorphous creature coming out of a very simple stone well. But you take that and you can take it in the direction that I took it, or you can take it in the direction that this artist took it. And I love thinking about the two of those in contrast with one another.
I was initially looking at this character like it's just a cute little guy, maybe from a world with a similar art direction, like what's the bug one that Nick loves? Hollow Knights. But I'm looking at it again and realizing it's probably more like a Ring reference, just in the cutest style ever.
Really cute
like anyone has
grunge
ever
coming
drawn.
out of there.
Yeah, like it's a girl, maybe coming out of a well.
That's the hair covering
Yeah,
its face.
well, because I was looking at it as just like I'm sorry,
blob.
but like a minion-like form.
No, I guess.
But then I was like, oh wait, there's hair, and then I was like, okay, this could all be really long hair, just covering up everything but the eyes. So it's really interesting that it's such a simple form, but you could really look at it as either the most benign, sweet little figure ever, or something that's going to walk out of our computer screen while we're
and
recording
strangle
this.
me. Yeah,
Strangle me for saying well done.
That's the thing about a simple design. In a lot of cases, you can interpret more from a very simple design than you can with a complicated design, because with a lot of intricate design elements, you're saying something very specific. But with this, there's a lot more room for interpretation, and I love it a lot. And I also love just if you were to like take all of the Apoctober prompts and put them together, this one would stand out so much because of the color, because of the way the shape of the canvas, the composition, the design of the character itself, the hand-drawn prompt names. That's fantastic. It's a great artist identity here, and I love to see that. Thank you very much, C-Pixel.
Thank you.
And back into more creepy stuff. This came to us from the artist Regina, and they have a lot of really great stuff. I could only pick one. I didn't want to do more than one piece for any one artist, but they had a lot of really cool stuff. This again brings it back to sort of the same tone and visuals that I was using for Apoctober. This sort of very cultish, Lovecraftian creature of the sea entity that's got this sort of very ambiguous vibe to it. A lot of Dark Souls inspiration in here too.
Definitely. I'm also thinking of the merchant from Resident Evil 4, who's just this really shady figure wrapped in like a trench coat and hood, and he pulls out his trench coat and he has like ammo and guns really on to buy.
I like that idea.
It's also like mystical, just like colors of pellets. I don't know. It definitely has this trope to me of a
sort of a
untrustworthy
impartial,
merchant.
But also like they're not a bad guy. They're not a good guy. They're sort of a very neutral presence. They just sort of show up and you're
like a staple of the universe almost.
Yeah.
Just like you can always trust that it's going to be there, but you don't really know anything about it. You don't know if it has good or bad or any intentions with its presence.
Yeah, I think you're getting the merchant thing too, because it's got all of these different trinkets hanging off of it. You get an idea. It's like, oh, I need a weapon. Oh, there's a swordfish head. I'm gonna go ahead and grab that. And I also love too that it's got the shadow arms coming out of the back of it, because it gives that cosmic horror feel where it's like, it's never really quite what you think it is. Even if you feel like oh yeah, it's just the deep sea merchant coming up from the low tide and he's gonna sell me. But what's going on his back? What are those arms coming out of the back of it?
Yeah, especially because they're so sinewy in their silhouette, and you can't really tell if they're reaching out because they're trying to escape whatever prison they're contained in, their arms sticking through the rib cages, or because they're trying to draw you in.
Well, it's very interesting. Again, I like the use of a very monochromatic palette. That's something that I was sort of going for with the older Apoctober prompts. It really makes it feel consistent with the rest of the world. I could definitely see this being a character in my Apoctober world in the story that I've been writing. And I think it's fantastic. It's a really great work.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Regina. So this one came to us from the Discord user, The Samwitch, and this was their prompt for day 8, or their illustration for the prompt Dagger on day 8. And this was another artist who had a bunch of really cool illustrations. I only picked one. And for Dagger, they did this sort of zombie samurai, the Vengeful Harakiri, sort of a reanimated, dishonored samurai that is just pierced with pretty much every weapon you could imagine.
I thought Harakiri was honorable.
Oh, that's the good thing to do, to kill yourself?
Yeah, that's like you've brought honor upon someone, so you just kill yourself.
Oh. He doesn't look very honorable, though.
No, well, I don't know. Maybe
he was honorable,
maybe
but then
wrong.
he got screwed afterwards. Maybe it was a dishonorable Harakiri. Well, anyway, this is a really cool design. This is another one that sort of has a very unique aesthetic to it. This one stood out to me. It's monochromatic, but I really like the amount of line work in this one. I'm trying to think. I think it might actually be traditional. I think it might actually be pen and paper, and they scanned it in and sort of added in all of the stuff afterwards. It looks like a scan, and it looks like pen on paper, which is cool to see, a little traditional stuff in there. And it's a great example of how you can take your stuff on paper and reformat it in a nice, clean digital sense, for other people to enjoy. And
the pose is really great for filling the space and preserving the flow of the spine that has all these jagged blades sticking out from it.
Yep.
And there's so much kinetic energy in this, just the springiness of these limbs and how everything is so condensed, but you know it could like snap at any moment and lunge towards.
Yeah, lunging.
Yeah.
It's ready to pounce. Very Dark Souls, or I guess more like Sekiro. But the other thing that I really like about this, we've talked about it a couple times now, is the abstraction of strong references. You know, you can tell that this artist was referencing a human skeleton, but obviously this doesn't look like a human skeleton. Like, you can see the skull, you can see some of the vertebrae, you can see the ribs. So what they did was they took the references and they abstracted it in a really successful way. And it's not an easy thing to do. So I think that this was a good application of reference. I think this was a good application of concept into a strong design. And I also think that the media, the use of line work, and especially if this is traditional pen on paper, a lot of strong mark making, very chaotic. You know, it's not just like straight, clean hatching. It's like scribbles and cross hatching, and you know, dark marks and thin lines, and it really adds to the sense of chaos. And I think that looks pretty sweet.
And the mark making also helps make it feel gritty in a way that's befitting an undead creature.
Yep. It's nothing about this feels clean or polished, but not in a bad way. I think the only thing that I might have done differently was sort of shrink this black space behind it.
I was going to say the same thing. I think it could be framed a little better.
Yeah.
So that we can see more of that line work that obviously took you so long.
Yeah, I think if you sort of literally just, you know, chopped off a good third on the top and the bottom and just had a sort of black bar behind it rather than a huge black rectangle, I think that would have enunciated, because I really like the way the silhouette sticks out of the top here.
Yeah,
and if
you just
more of it
barely
was
get
doing
it.
that, I think that would be a lot stronger. But I do think it was a smart idea to sort of break up the black with these little dots. That could have been a little bit more considered too, but I do think it was a good idea to not keep it entirely black behind it. So very cool. And again, this artist had a couple of different illustrations in this black and white inking style. So be sure to check that out on the Discord.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so now we're going to move away from specifically Apoctober stuff, and we're going to go into just more general subjective fan art. We just have a couple that I wanted to highlight. This one was from the user Taphead. I really like that username. And this was Pokemon armor based off of Perizodal, one of the Fakemon that I designed for the Maza region. And I just really like it. I mean, you know, there's nothing really, you know, insane about this design. It's pretty toned down, but it's very well done. It's very a good translation of the Pokemon's design into a human character, which is what I like to do with my Pokemon designs.
As far as like Gajinkas go, I like that this is a design that doesn't just translate the motifs of the Pokemon it's trying to capture in a human design. It makes me wonder about the world around this character too. Like, this seems so culturally significant.
Yeah,
this garment,
very
this
shamanistic.
mask, yeah, and the horns.
I love the
tassels.
patterning on the undergarment there.
Yeah, the mixture of pattern is very satisfying.
Yeah.
Especially since the t-shirt, t-shirt is not the right word.
Well, the undershirt,
The
yeah.
shirt has like this nice subtle concentric circle, which is already very spiritual looking, and then you have some more graphic patterns on the
Harder
pants.
geometry. Yeah.
And this very stylized mask, which is just so cool and mysterious.
And good simplified texture rendering too. You have a different texture on the sort of tunic part, the kilt part here, than you do on the patterns on the shirt. And then you have a nice gold dagger here. I really like that. I love a good gold rendering, and that's very strong too. I think the only thing I would change about this is that the canvas is a little too long. It's kind of awkward the way it's sort of sitting a little off center on this really long
Yeah, I think
canvas.
it needs to either be smaller and more in the corners so that it's purposefully in this empty expanse and you wonder why it's so lonely, why it has this solitude, or it needs to fill the frame a little bit more.
Yeah, very nice. So this one came to us from Frankendraws, at Frankendraws, and their username in the Discord is actually Frank2Crabs, which I thought was very appropriate for this Pokemon's design. But in the first week of October, when I designed Macrabra, I was talking about how I would love to see someone do a render of the Pokemon from the front or from the top, where you could see that it just sort of scuttles along with the whistle on top of it, sort of looking like more like And it's got the sort of face design in there. And this is just a really cute, simple animation that I think gives that third dimension personality for Macrabra that I wanted to see that I'm unable to do myself.
This guy is a known scoundrel, and he is off to cause problems on purpose.
Today he decides to cause problems on purpose. That's exactly though,
him.
like that's really what I wanted to convey. And it's funny how just such a simple looping animation does such a good job at conveying that mischievous personality.
Yeah, and this is probably one of my favorite designs of all of the Maza region. So cute, and the expression between the impish little eyes of the ghosty crustacean and then the what are we getting up to today, like implied expression on like the ocarina shell.
Yeah.
Together it's just very satisfying. The colors are so complementary.
Yeah, it's great. It's a very simple animation. I think we've seen some animations from this artist before. Very simple but very effective. And it makes you want to walk around with this Pokemon following behind you.
Imagine a bunch of them though.
That's scary.
Maybe you don't want to walk
No,
toward
it's
them.
too scary. I don't want that. It's scary. But yeah, great. Thank you very much, Frankendraws. Great
Thank
work.
you.
And then the last one we'll look at is also some Macrabra fan art. This is a 3D model that came to us from, I believe the username is just Robert. So this one came to us from Robert. We've seen their modeling skills before. They've done a couple of 3D models for the Maza region. Now, I suggest you guys check out the Fan Art Friday channel in the Discord because they did a couple others this month too that I'm not showcasing here, but you should definitely check them out. And they did a 3D turnaround for Macrabra, and it is exactly what I was picturing. It's got that sort of dual personality now where you look at it from the front and you get...
this is a lot scarier now.
Yeah, it gives it an entirely different feel, which is exactly what I wanted from Macrabra because... Okay.
Someone's being extra today. What's wrong?
Alright, Pango, we're almost done. Just relax. You have the personality of the implied face on the whistle itself, and then you have the actual personality of the Pokemon that's hiding underneath it. But it's just so cute, and I really appreciate it. I believe I directly asked in the videos, like, can someone do fan art of this character in a way that I cannot? And now I have this expectation from our fans to give me this sort of third dimension to my designs, and I absolutely love it. It's fantastic. Great work.
What I really like about this is, yes, it's so much scarier than the last animation, but this, because the form is so much more imposing and seems like a violent kind of mischief is implied. It reminds me of like old Halloween when kids would just do mean pranks if you didn't give them candy.
Tricks,
It's still just like a pretty harmless little kid under the mask, so to speak. But it really harkens back to some pranks that aren't just, I put toilet paper on your butt.
Yeah, it's like one of those creepy things where it's like the mask itself is not supposed to be that strange or intimidating looking, but tied with the context of the situation, it makes it seem a lot creepier. Like this guy could show up to your house and, just be like, okay, here, a little piece of candy, but then you see it standing at the end of the street with like one street lamp shining on it, and it's just like that stone face staring at you, and you're just sort of like,
It's kind of like a more refined face. It's reminding me, it's probably just the cement texture, but it reminds me of that SCP where you can't blink.
Yep. I don't know which one that is, but
I don't know.
That, it definitely has those vibes to it.
So good.
And that is definitely the vibes that I wanted from it. It's a sort of strange, cryptic artifact that has some, unearthly power that's really hard to comprehend. And then, it was like, to be able to capture that in a way that also wasn't actually so scary that people wouldn't consider it to look like a Pokemon, but still, you could contextualize this in a way that would make it a lot more creepy.
And do you know it has the saddest Pokedex entry possible?
No, his Pokedex entry's alright. It's not that sad. He's kind of creepy and he makes sad, creepy noises. But thank you so much, Robert.
Thank you.
Great 3D modeling. Keep it up. And that is going to end it for the Fan Art Friday of October, or Apoctober.
I keep almost saying
Apoctober,
every time
just
I'm trying to say
referencing October. Yeah, it's just so catchy. What can I say? But that is the end of October 2021's Fan Art Friday. Thank you so much for everyone who submitted. Be sure to check out if you didn't get your piece in the video. Make sure that you submit again. We want to share as many as we can, but we can only share so many. This video is already going to be like 35 minutes long. But thank you guys all so much for everyone who did submit. And
happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Yeah, it's going to be Halloween in like 2 days. So happy Halloween, and we'll see y'all in the next video. Bye, guys.